Hi everyone, in today's lesson we're going to talk about solving circle linear systems. So just like the other systems we did before, when you're solving this type of system, you're looking for the point of intersection. So let's look at these three pictures right here. In this first example, we have a line intersecting the circle at 2 points. So therefore, we would have two solutions. Just for this picture is two solutions, 2 points of intersection. For the second picture, it only hits once. That's called a tangency point. So that means this intersection is 1. So one solution. And the third one here, there's no solutions. Doesn't cross at all. So this is what we are going to do in this lesson. We're going to solve these systems algebraically to find their points of intersection. Before we can even get into the algebra, I want to review a few things about a circle. The first thing is that a circle can be written in center radius form, or it can be written in general form. So let's focus on center radius. So x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So from this formula, you can get the center, and you can get the radius. The center is the h and k values, and the radius is the square root of r squared, or just r. Okay, so let's put an example. We'll put it over here to the right. So let's write x minus 4 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals 9. So my center is the opposite of this negative 4, which I'll put here as 4. So positive 4. The other value is the opposite of this positive 6, which is negative 6. So that's my center. My radius is the square root of 9, which is 3. So that's it. This information over here, we're not really going to be asking you to find the center and radius, but it's important to know. Okay, so now to prove where this general form comes from, I kind of want to just insert a new slide here. You don't have to write it, but just take a look for a minute. So our example before was x minus 4 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals 9. This is center radius form. If I wanted to put it into general form, I would do some double distributing. So do you agree that x minus 4 squared is the same thing as saying x minus 4 times x minus 4, and y plus 6 squared is the same thing as saying y plus 6 times y plus 6? So now we're just going to double distribute everything. Trust my math. You should be getting this. Double distribute everything here. You should be getting this. And we'll keep all the squareds first, so bring this one down. Bring this one down, so it would be x squared plus y squared. And then bring down your x term, minus 8x. Bring down your y term. And then combine your numbers. So maybe this one and this one. So that would be plus 52 equals 9. And the general form would be to just subtract the 9 to get it equal to 0. So this would be x squared plus y squared minus 8x plus 12y plus 43 equals 0. So this should look familiar to you. This is a general form. Something squared plus something squared, x's, y's, and a number. So if we go back to that last slide, we can see that general form. And that general form is right here. X squared, y squared, a number x, a number y, plus a number 0. So just be aware that the circle can be written in these two forms. So let's look at an example. It says solve the following system of equations algebraically. So it's clear that this first equation is the circle with the center at 0, 0, because this is technically like x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. That's the same thing as just saying x squared plus y squared, just to explain where it comes from. We don't actually need it. I just wanted to discuss that. Okay, so how would I go about doing this? The easiest way to do it is through these steps right here. Always take the linear equation, which is this guy, and solve it for y, and then substitute it into the circle, wherever you see a y. So let's take this linear equation, which I'm going to circle in red, x minus y equals 6, and let's solve for y. So let's subtract x. What are you left with? You should be saying negative y equals negative x plus 6. Okay, now how do I get rid of this negative 1 here in front? You should be saying divide by negative 1. So your y is equal to positive x minus 6. So we've successfully completed step 1, solve the linear equation for y. And now we're going to substitute it into the circle. So I'm going to use a different color here. So x squared plus y squared equals 26. So x squared plus y. Alright, well here's the y that I can substitute. So x minus 6 squared equals 26. So now I just have some algebra. So leave the x squared, write the x minus 6 twice, and now let's double distribute. So we'll take this into this into this. So pause the video, take a minute and see if you can double distribute, and then hit resume. Okay, you should have gotten x squared minus 6x minus 6x plus 36, which reduces, these two simplify, x squared minus 12x plus 36. And then you want to bring this x squared down. Alright, so now these are my like terms. So you have 2x squared minus 12x plus 36. And now this is all still equal to the 26 that I had. So from yesterday's lesson, you should be noticing this squared. And you should be like, alright, I have to do some factoring. But in order to factor, I have to get it equal to 0. So we actually have to subtract the 26. And we'll get 2x squared minus 12x plus 10 equals 0. Alright, now is there a GCF here? You should be saying there's a GCF of 2. And what are you left with on the inside? X squared minus 6x plus 5 equals 0. Now, do I have to use the earmuff method for this? No, not really. All I need to do is find two numbers that add to negative 6 that multiply to 5. Well, let's see. Factors of 5. 1 and 5, or how about negative 1 and negative 5? That's my winner. That pair, negative 1 and negative 5, add to a negative 6. So when we factor, bring down the 2, x minus 1, x minus 5. All I did was take the negative 1 and the negative 5 and put them in here. So when we do our t-chart, each piece sets equal to 0. 2 equals 0 makes no sense. X minus 1 equals 0. X equals 1 if you add 1 to both sides. And then x minus 5 equals 0. Add 5. X equals 5. So what did you just solve for? Well, you should be telling me that you just solved for the x values of the point of intersection. So if you got a circle and you got a line going through it, you just found x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 5. So you just found those x values. Now you need to find the corresponding y values here that would go along with it. I seem to have run out of room, so I'm going to add a new page. Hopefully you have enough room on yours. We're going to start with the original equation, the original linear. So x minus y equals 6. And we're going to substitute the first x value that we found. So we found x is equal to 1. So let's put in 1 minus y equals 6. So we're solving this equation for y. Divide by negative 1. Y equals negative 5. So what is the point? When I plugged in x is 1, I got negative 5. So my point is 1, negative 5. That's 1 point. Now let's find the next point. Plug into the original equation, and we're going to plug in our other x value, which is 5. So 5 minus y equals 6, minus 5, negative y equals 1, y equals negative 1. Alright, so now we're going to plug it in as a point. Final answer is x is 5, y is negative 1. Okay, let's try a second example. So if you look, the first one is our line, and the second one is our circle. So we're going to solve the line for y equals. So I'm going to do that over here. X plus y equals 5, minus x on both sides. Y equals negative x plus 5. So we now have our line in y equals form, and we're going to substitute this line every time I see a y. This one's going to be funny, but it'll still work out. So x plus 3 squared plus, what's my y value? You should be telling me negative x plus 5, but don't forget this minus 3 and squared. Because look, this is your y here, minus 3 here, equals 53. So what could I simplify? Well, in here, can't I just simplify 5 minus 3? So you should say 2. So that's negative x plus 2, because 5 minus 3 is a positive 2. Square it, equals 53. X plus 3 squared plus that equals 53. So this one looked a little funny in the beginning, but this is pretty much the same problem that we did before. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and double distribute both of these parentheses, and see if you can factor, just like we did before. You're going to get squareds, set it equal to 0, and get your x values. So pause the video and then resume when you're ready. Okay, here's your solution. I know it looks like a lot, but please go through it slowly, find your mistakes, and make your corrections before moving on. So you should have gotten x equals negative 5 and x equals positive 4. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to find our y values. So again, plugging into the original equation for the line. So x plus y equals 5. I'm going to plug in negative 5 for x and bring everything else down. Add 5. So y equals 10. So this point of intersection is negative 5, 10, because I plugged in my x value of negative 5 here, got out 10, so negative 5, 10. Now I'm going to use the same line, x plus y equals 5, for the x value of 4. So I'm going to plug in 4. So y equals 1. So again, to make a point, my x value that I plugged in was 4. What I got out was 1. So here's my other point, 4, 1. Alright, so I know this is tricky, but the tricky part is the algebra in here, not the setup. From here on, these first 2 steps is just the Algebra 2 stuff. The rest is just a bunch of Algebra 1. So we just have to get our algebra skills built up to have some more practice with it. Alright, let's do the last example, and then we are out of here. So notice the circle is now written in that general form that we talked about, and here's our line. So the line needs to be in y equals form, so let's do that on the side. So y minus x equals 7. So let's add x. So y equals x plus 7. Alright, that was easy. So now every time I see a y, which I see one here and here, I'm going to plug in x plus 7. So x squared minus 4x plus y, x plus 7, squared, minus 6 times y, which is x plus 7 again, equals 23. So notice, for this y, I plugged in x plus 7. For that y, I plugged in x plus 7. So now, unfortunately, it's the same as we've had before. We have to simplify this algebra expression. So try it again, pause the video, see if you can do it from start to finish, and then hit resume to see your answer. Don't cheat. Do it first. Okay, here are your answers. Take a minute, double check them with yours, find any mistakes, correct them, and now let's find the y value. So let's start with the line, the original equation for the line. Y minus x equals 7, and we're going to plug in our two x values. So let's plug in negative 4 for x. Don't see, it's a double negative, don't forget that. So this is saying y plus 4 equals 7 minus 4, y equals 3. So my point of intersection is negative 4, 3. Now let's use that same equation and plug in the other x value of 2. And now let's solve. Y equals 9. So again, my final answer with an x and a y is going to be 2, 9. All right, that should do it. Please come in with questions tomorrow.